us is the annual review of the comprehensive plan. And I think this is kind of a big picture, I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, Sharon, big picture review. Is there something glaringly obvious that we need to address?
Are all of the sections still relevant? It's a basic review that's required by Kansas law, that we review it every year and just make sure that there aren't any obsolete portions of the plan.
So hopefully you all had a chance to review it. Anything anybody would like to address or talk about? It's just that there's nothing else.
If nobody else has anything to say about it, I might just have a few points at the end.
Sounds good, Russ.
Since I put a hat on for this and everything, I figured I might as well chip in something.
Can you stick Russ up there? We'll get to where we can see you.
Can you not see me?
Well, it's small in the corner, so we're
We want to see that hat.
Yeah, we
Yes.
see your hat.
Yeah, the hat.
It is a company hat, so I will say that it's not completely informal, and it's certainly better than what's underneath it.
What are you trying to hide?
But, yeah. So, you know, we've talked over the past year or two, actually, about, look, if we're having some issues with land use, specifically wind farms, you know, the comprehensive plan is the place that we need to start. And, you know, it seems as painful as the processes have been to date, it still seems that there's no action from a major policy standpoint that the county wants us to pursue relative to perhaps the banning of additional wind farms or anything like that. We really haven't seen too much come our way, like a wind farm type of land use that would need special treatment in the comp plan. And so therefore, the only thing I really wanted to point out for the commission is next year, when we have this discussion, we may consider updating just the demographic socioeconomic portion of the comprehensive plan to reflect this year's census. So from that standpoint, we will have some updated demographic information to add to the plan, which would be a very, very minor amendment, something that really would take maybe just a meeting or two to deal with if we so choose to do it at that time. So this may be the last year before the census information is released next July, where we might want to just update those basic informational chapters of the comp plan.
Thanks, Russ.
Yeah.
That's it. That's released in July, you said? The census information?
Yeah, so they're collected through the end of the year, and of course this year is going to have an asterisk next to it, but typically that information is refined and rolled out usually in the summer, usually around July 1st. Some of that information, census information is continually rolling in, but for the decennial census, we would see something like that happen next summer.
All right. Is anybody else, anything they've come up with or thought about while Russ was informing us? I guess if there really is nothing big to address, we'll kick it to review it next year, I guess, and probably possibly include the census information.
We'll have plenty of time to see what rolls out, if there's anything significant.
Sure.
I want to make a comment. You know, I went through this and I thought it's an excellent document. Some of it's disheartening, I thought, in terms of the census data, and I think it should behoove them to look at some of the data. Very enlightening, and this county needs some more businesses in it, just my opinion. And you see the survey results, and it talks about the average, you know, wages. The only thing that's saving a lot of these people is the housing's half of what it, you know, 81,000.
Can you guys hear Brad okay?
It's a little quiet.
So
I think the microphone on that end is a little quieter, maybe.
I was just making comments. I don't know if you want me to, I can speak up.
I think they could hear you, it's
Yeah.
just faint.
Yeah, it's just some pretty disheartening data, and you know, for it's like, wow. It's really, you can see that things need to happen within the county. It can't just continue to fall on agriculture to be the mainstay. Even though there's a lot of manufacturing from the data, you can see that the wages are, people aren't making a lot of money compared to the rest of Kansas. So
When we did this back in 2018, I mean, I think that was a pretty popular subject that was discussed. You know, a lot of things were talked about as far as trying to attract people to at least live here. If the jobs can't be here, you know, we at least want the people here and travel to a job, or telecommute, which is something that's being addressed, I think, in the county right now with high-speed internet. I've been in the northern part of the county. We've had good high-speed internet for 10 years, but I know down in this neck of the woods, it's been a struggle.
I think it's kind of a bad coincidence that you're talking about the historically low wages that are connected with some of the highest taxes in the state. So you got the lowest wages and the highest taxes, and you wonder why people don't want to come here. It's like, duh. I mean,
No, it's a bit
pretty
of a
much
catch.
that's oversimplified, but that's pretty much it.
It's a bit of a catch-22 too, because without the population, you know, you
Right.
just don't have the populace to pay taxes. It's a catch-22.
yeah. Yeah, it's sad when you have low wages and you have to continue to increase the taxes to basically keep the county
Current.
moving
basically,
moving forward.
Yeah. Chase, did you have something?
Well, no, this is Jim.
Okay.
When I was going through this, following up on that, do the right people see this and read this? You know, we put a lot of work into this. But do the right people even know about this document?
I think that was evident as things as we worked through all the challenges with the wind farm. Obviously, there were a lot of people that weren't even aware of the comprehensive plan. Even though it's available, there was something that people just weren't in tune with.
It was evident at our stakeholder meetings too, when we were rewriting the comprehensive plan back in 2018. There weren't masses of people showing up to review it and contribute.
Well, even the people that were here, I don't think knew before that it even existed either.
Yeah.
So probably to answer your question, Jim, probably not. But
And whose responsibility is that to educate people about this, or? I mean, I'm not even, do the commissioners even look at this? I mean,
They're all given a copy and they're notified when it's, you know, when we have the final draft ready for recommendation, and they actually voted on this. They're the ones that adopt it. You know, I mean, I can try to,
well, you know, it was
Advertise it
as
more.
far as letting people know. All the community leaders, all the stakeholders, they were all informed about it. They were all, letters were sent.
school districts were notified,
I
fire
mean,
department.
It's kind of one of those things, you can inform and inform and inform, but if they're not gonna open the book, then they aren't gonna read it and they don't know.
Russ, is that pretty typical?
Sadly, it's very typical. You know, there's nothing in Marion County and the county's handling of the comprehensive plan or the utilization of the comprehensive plan that's any different. I mean, this is where we step back and have to realize that Kansas, the vast majority of Kansas counties are and unregulated from a zoning and subdivision standpoint. Therefore, you couple that with the relative slow pace of change. You know, we don't have, there's just a handful of counties that see a tremendous in-migration or out-migration, which cause alarm and really focus people's attention on how to manage that change or gain back population or gain back economic vitality. So, right, wrong, or indifferent, what we're experiencing here is very, very, very typical. You know, Sharon mentioned it. You know, got some great information, and the group of people that seemed most interested in the planning process were representatives of all the school districts in the county, and I thought that was fantastic. And see groups like the various chambers of commerce, you know, economic development committees that people have here and there to whatever effect, and school districts really are the people that drive a lot of the things that make change happen in the county. You know, oftentimes, and I've never been an elected official, but many times you'll see the commissioners, they're dealing with day in and day out things like we all are in our daily lives. Just maintaining the status quo, not in a negative way, just dealing with the things that we have to deal with. There's road and bridges that have to be dealt with, and that's a big budget issue. Marion County is a physically large county with a small population, with a lot of roads. And so, you know, that's where a lot of that taxation differential may come from. I don't know that for sure, but that would be one thing I would think of immediately. But usually you don't deal with a comprehensive plan unless something's charging at you. And then you have to deal with it like we had with you know, some of these CUPs that you've dealt with in the last couple of years. So unless you hit the wall with the CUP application and you recognize from a community-wide standpoint that you want to reach, then really nothing's going to move the needle on that comp plan. And as we discovered, we have a lot of people that have grave questions about that particular land use, but we have no one, and I mean no one I've spoke with, and I've spoken to some advocates on both sides of the issue directly about it, and there's just no impetus to change it. You'll see that the validity of that as a revenue source for certain citizens and certain taxing entities in the county. And as painful as some of these processes may be from time to time, they still overall function correctly. So, you know, unless we would get some momentum change here or there, honestly, it comes from the top. Any major change you would expect to come from the top down. So unless the commissioners are sitting there with something needing attention, then usually these annual comp plan reviews just simply are put it on the agenda and check the box. So,
Yeah.
and like I said, every 10 years we have a census. That is usually when you post amendments or updates to the comprehensive plan. It's simply to change the demographic data, just to get another 10 years in the rearview mirror, and to put and to indoctrinate that in the comprehensive plan is to again take another status check of where the county is. Something alarming, perhaps we already have been seeing trends that are alarming, then it's the people that have already been tasked with the job of trying to spur on development or attract businesses to the county. They're already on that task. So the comprehensive plan not really do miracles, but it's a good point of reference for everyone to focus on going forward. So,
Russ, I have a question on, or maybe the whole group. I know when we talked about utilities, it seemed like we were focusing, it's been wind energy. Wind energy, I think we probably should have broadened that, but discussed that and looked at, open it up for discussion at least, the solar energy. Because that, I know in some communities that's becoming much more of an issue than wind energy, and it's a different type of discussion, but it's a very similar. I don't know that we missed that at all in our comprehensive plan.
so yeah, I really think solar energy is going to, and I know Jesse's on here, so maybe if I say something wrong, he can correct me, but I just read something the other day where solar is going to perhaps start outpacing wind energy in Kansas. I will say I've been involved with 2 solar projects, and I would disagree, Dwight, on one point, and that is that they're the same thing. From a transmission standpoint, perhaps, but we've kind of dealt with the utility or the electrical transmission side of things within the year. Solar just takes on such a less solar, it seems to be so much less impactful.
My comment about being the alternative energy, talking about, it's not what we traditionally think of as our electrical source.
So they would easily, as far as footprints go, solar farms typically aren't as scattered. They're more concentrated, but they eat up a quarter section of ground. But there again, with Marion County being a less densely populated county, obviously we're not going to be taking huge amounts of acreage out of agricultural production for these types of things. So there's not really, from my standpoint, a worry about that. And quite frankly, those panels set about 8 to 10 feet up off the ground. They do have a typical post hole type of footing. So it takes nothing to really install, and it takes really nothing to reclaim that land once their usefulness is gone. Really, they just don't pose a lot of adverse risk. The 2 that I've been involved with indirectly, no neighborhood opposition. As a matter of fact, the Evergy has been the applicant. Evergy does a great job, like most, supporting property owners to make sure that what they're doing on an hedgerow preservation or screening type of process, that there's a communication with the neighbors. So quite frankly, I think that there hasn't been any hair on those types of CEP applications in my experience. So, and in looking at it, we just got through with Article 27, which I believe Sharon's going to take to the county commissioners Monday. I'm not sure how much more information we could stick in that chapter. With solar, honestly, the conditions of approval are dealing with making sure that you get all state, federal, and local permits, that you're not in any type of environmental situation, putting these things in floodplain or someplace that has an environmental impact. Otherwise, all you're doing is making sure that the solar panels meet the setbacks. So from that standpoint, it's kind of anticlimactic, even though they're huge utility generator facilities.
I guess I was just raising, maybe just put it on, get it on, in the document somehow or another at some point down the road. Something to think about, how we want to address that.
I think that's going to be the next thing that we see come through Kansas in a larger format.
Larry, did you have something you were?
Yeah, I was trying to take all this in, it was kind of changing what I was thinking a little bit. Picking up on what Jim was saying about, do the commissioners look at this? And then her comment, I can't remember what it was now, because I was getting lit.
They voted on it, they approved it, so they've
read it, they voted on it, they approved it, so they should be aware of everything that's written in this, correct?
I can't attest for whether they read it.
Right, but I mean, we would assume that they've had the opportunity to do it.
They had the opportunity, yes.
Okay.
They all have a copy of it.
Because where I'm going with this is on the back page where we have all the comments that people submitted and stuff. And correct me if I'm out of line here, and I'm just asking a question, but I'm reading through all this. We wanted to keep the taxes down. We wanted to promote businesses. And you said this was in 2018 when this was put together, which would be about the time, because I see all these comments on here about making sure that the infrastructure's improved and the bridges and the roads and improve this, improve that. 18, if I remember right, was when the commission decided that the current person in charge, and I want to say this is an objective comment, because I know somebody's going to say you're going there because of something else. I'm not. This is totally objective that what I'm reading here. Is about 18 is when they decided the commission wanted to change the direction and leadership of the Road and Bridge Department, is when they sent out and searched and got the engineer, if I'm correct. And part of what the commission stated when they did that was that when they got an engineer, they was going to readdress the wages of the person that was currently in charge. That's never been addressed. So, I mean, it's a minor thing, and I don't know if it's even our job to bring it up. That's why I'm just talking here. But if it's listed in here as things that we're wanting to get done, I mean, whose job is it to bring up to them that, hey, you said 3 years ago this is what you're going to do, and nobody's doing it? I mean, so what? I guess the reason I bring that up is we all put time and effort into these plans and read them and try and progress things and give the information to people. And then they make statements they don't follow through on. It's like, what's the use of? I'm sorry about being blunt like that, but
No.
I think you know what I'm trying to say.
And I've got a comment. I think the comments in the back are from public comments from
Right.
people at the meeting. They had copies. They approved this comp plan. How they act on it. I mean, I guess we address that as citizens by election. I guess, if they aren't doing, I guess what our commissioner is. I mean, I don't know how else we hold the commissioners accountable other than elections. I guess would be my comment to that. I mean, yes, they aren't doing the things that we spent the time on and laid out possibly.
The hazard of that is it, so if that's the only thing that's available, and I understand where you're coming from, and I'm not saying I got a better answer, the downside of that is that, what do how long are the terms?
Yeah,
You can do a lot of damage in one term waiting when somebody's screwing something up.
Yeah.
There can be a lot of damage done before
Yeah.
your next opportunity to vote.
I mean, as a board member here, we serve at the discretion of our commissioners. You know, I don't consider it my job, I guess, to police how they do their job.
I agree, Gary. Here's Dwight speaking. I agree with that. It isn't our role to do the policing of it. We worked at getting the document together. We presented the information to the commissioners. They went through the hearing. I believe that probably would have been in the era of 3 commissioners before the 5. So the 3 commission model would have approved it and not the 5, but that's irrelevant. So I think we've done our work. It would be up to the general public to work at if there's some issues, start addressing. And we can act that way as individuals, as citizens. It's not as a board or planning and zoning.
I mean, just to kind of piggyback on what Dwight said is, you know, our position is more to provide guidance, you know, with individual, you know, a board of individuals providing guidance for them. They still have the right to do what they want to do. But I do see your point.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it, and
Yeah,
I
and
just-
I'm not trying to say we should like have control over it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just looking at, like, let's just take the situation the whole United States is in right now. Everybody sat around and said, well, we should have done this, we should have done that. That wasn't my job, and look where we're at. I'm just thinking, you know, if you want to start to fix a problem, this is the level we need to start fixing problems as a city and the county. And I just want to know how everybody else felt about that. I mean,
There's a lot of actionable data in here. This is an excellent plan that people can take action on.
if they take action.
I'm not gonna go that far. I'm just saying, there's
I'll be the guy that says it.
I'm gonna take the politically neutral position that says it's a dang good plan,
Right.
and it would be a roadmap for someone to say, we need to drill down on this. There's an issue here. We can't look back 20 years from now and say, well, in the 2020 plan, it was right there, and 20 years later, we've totally,
Right.
taxes have doubled, people have left the county, which causes the taxes to get worse. There's no job base, and subsequently,
I mean, we're fortunate that the windmills and them kinds of people are coming in here, because that's about what you're gonna get, because
well,
it's not gonna require things that we can't offer. I mean, because they adapt their infrastructure as they're building their farms and stuff, as we know from being up there, you know. But say manufacturing, like Amazon that's moving in next to Park City, Amazon's not gonna come up here. I mean, what, they ain't got a road that their truck can go down without tearing an axle out of it. I mean, you know, I'm not trying to beat up on certain departments. That's why I say I'm trying to be objective. But those are things that people that are bringing businesses to this county make their decisions on, you know?
And
but 30 miles away, McPherson is,
I think this is a
go ahead, Chase.
statewide trend. I mean, the decreasing population, the aging demographic of our population is a statewide trend. I think Marion County as an individual would be hard pressed to curb that trend, being as it is a statewide trend. There's just a few counties in the state that are going against that. And they have a huge competitive advantage on us in terms of highways and how they intersect, such as McPherson. I think they're starting to grow. But even McPherson they have the industry, but they don't have the people and the housing to support that industry. So I think that's one thing that Marion County does have an advantage of as kind of a bedroom type community. And you couple that with the existing infrastructure, as has been pointed out, a lot of young people. My wife was involved with Families and Communities Together, and one of the young couples that did work off, they had a terrible hard time finding childcare. And that's another reason why there's some young couples that had to move closer to their work where childcare was provided. I mean, it's a very complicated issue. And the taxes, even for the agricultural guys, the property taxes it doesn't make good sense. It's not good. It doesn't make good business sense to be here, honestly, if you want to just be straightforward with yourself.
This is William Kropa. One thing about the property taxes and agriculture is we're a captive audience here. We're captive. I mean, when you talk about farming, it's like you've developed the farm over several generations, and you can't just say, hey, we're going to find a place in Harvey County and farm there because it's cheaper taxes. You live here, you've developed your operation, and that's the frustrating part. The people that are staying here, it's tough to try to go somewhere else.
I think that was a lot of the discussion when we did this plan was this trend is happening, like you said, Chase. It's all over the state happening. What are some things we could look at to not really take advantage, but to use the trend, I guess? Like I said earlier, high-speed internet. I know child care services was a big topic discussed when we were going through this plan. It was kind of more, this is happening anyway, what can we do to try and keep some people here was I think pretty common subject.
I'd be
right. I agree with you. And you talk about internet, I've got like a 10-second lag on you guys. I don't have the video won't go through because of my internet, and I pay $180 a month. That's definitely a big problem.
Where do you live?
Lehigh, 2 miles north and 2 miles east of Lehigh. I got Viasat internet. It's a satellite, supposed to be the best, but obviously, it's the best available to me, but at a very unreasonable cost.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, unfortunately, that's, in a more rural, less populous area, that's what's been going on. That's the trend, as you said, is there's just the population is not there to push those subjects. Now, I think it's getting a little better. I see some fiber going in here around Marion and Hillsborough now, but it's a slow process, it seems.
I would be curious to know if this
work on the internet from home for us is obsolete. It's not even an option for our kids. I had to make sure nobody else was on the internet this evening.
I'd be curious to know if much of COVID affected the census this year, because we do have more people staying home working in Marion County. They've beefed up our broadband. If you're working in the county, you're spending your money in the county.
My wife's been home since March.
Yeah, I don't want to say an opportunity because it's really an unfortunate deal, but, if Marion County steps forward and looks more seriously at fiber optic and different things like that and getting some better quality internet services here for people. I know that there are several people that have moved out of the bigger cities since COVID hit because they want to get away from all of that. They want to get away from the people. They want to have space. They want to be free to live their lives. We've had several families move to Marion County just over this past year for those reasons. And we have some people that are building new houses right now because of those reasons. So it would be good for Marion County to take a long, hard look at how we can, you know, make that work out for more people.
What internet do you have?
Tri-County.
Fiber optic.
I've had it for 12 years.
Cause I've got pretty good. Mine's coming off of the Durham elevator,
I used to have that.
and that's pretty good.
I mean, I used to come down here, when we were doing this, before this, I'd come to Marion and everybody was complaining about their internet, you know, and I'm in Tri-County's actual
Right.
area. And, you know, after the ice storm in 2007, they got that big grant and put it in for their customers. And it's been, I used to have broadband. I was a block and a half from the elevator, and I had broadband off the elevator, and it wouldn't, I'd be like Chase.
Really?
I didn't have service.
Hmm.
But this fiber deal is a game changer.
Amen, I'm the same way. And
I
we're
mean-
out there on the edge of the Flint Hills, I mean, they trenched it in through
Yeah.
the limestone, they were digging.
Yeah, it's a
fiber
game
optic.
changer. I mean, my wife works, she works K-State Salina. She's been home since March, telecommuting.
Right.
She doesn't have any plans to go back. She's gonna be home permanently, I think. And I think there's more of that.
Yeah.
The reason I was asking that is because I was thinking you had something different
Nope,
than,
Tri-County.
than what I was on.
Oh, yeah, it would
But-
be different.
My point of bringing that up is mine's working pretty good up there. It's just a bunch of people dropped off of it for whatever reasons, which helped me out because of fewer people that are on it. You know, if y'all quit, I'd appreciate it. As long as I keep
You'll have your
tab
own
of it.
internet
But
system.
I'm like Chase, you gotta, you know, it's like.
Call your neighbors, tell them to get off.
Yeah,
the
you
internet.
know, you can tell when the latest Netflix came out that somebody wanted to watch online, because now all of a sudden it's like turtle slow.
Yeah.
But
No, I mean, all those topics are good. I know we talked about those when we did this plan. They're all in here. I think it's a slow process, I think, to turn the tide.
Well, and it's expensive, you know. I'm not too sure that the commissioners, and I may have this wrong, if there are any commissioners online, correct me, but, I believe they were looking at some spark funds or maybe trying to figure out how they could incorporate that into some internet services or fiber optics or something like that. So, you know, where do you come up with the money for something that expensive?
that's the deal with the fiber optic, unless you're, got a pretty good population to serve with it, the cost is prohibitive. You wanna find out how expensive fiber optic is, cut one of their lines.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Dwight?
Larry can look forward to when he's the only one left in Marion County, he's gonna have fast service then going on.
The only thing that I've noticed is I think the windmills don't affect my internet speed, but I do think they affect your cell phone service. Just throwing that out there, I'm not sure. It's just that, I don't know if it's a coincidence that the cell phone's cutting out in places that used to be solid, but since the windmills went up, it's kinda different. So,
Yeah, I mean, they do Fresnel zone studies and things like that, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
yeah, and like I
That's
said,
a-
it could be a coincidence, but.
Sure.
But,
I think weather affects it as much as anything.
well, yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, that's a lot of good discussion. Anybody have anything? I mean, I think a lot of what we've talked about is really in there. Sounds like we maybe want to look at census data for next year. And I don't know, Dwight, unless you disagree, we maybe could, you know, as far as utilities, like you brought up with solar and that sort of thing, we could incorporate that. That's probably just really a text issue to include.
I'm fine with the way it is. I don't know, I was gonna ask what next step, do we have to have a motion that we approve it on an annual basis, or we just need to review it?
Just to review. You
Okay.
can make a you can
I
make
would
a
just
mo-
like to bold,
Go ahead, Chase.
I would just like to bold reduce property taxes.
Yeah.
As would, I
Or
think, all of us.
underline it, or italics, or whatever.
Put it on the front page.
Yeah, because that's the number one deal. From a young businessman wanting to start a business of any kind, that is the most prohibitive thing there is.
I had a gentleman tell me the same thing in Derby this last week. So I think that's a universal conversation when we're talking about this kind of thing in December. But I'm not disagreeing with you at all. Everyone, taxes are coming due, and I think everybody's realizing what they're paying. And yeah, there's the guy that was running a business in Derby, and he said taxes are just pretty well killing him.
Yeah, and that's the biggest complaint I hear too, with people looking at homes from out of our county. They look at our taxes and then they reconsider moving here. And then the other thing I think is we need to do a better job of educating our business owners. Because the business owners, at least in the Hillsborough area, they're just paying minimum wage, if anything. And they're having a hard time. You see in the paper, like Container Services, they need help on all shifts every week in the paper, but they only pay like $7, $8 an hour, $10 an hour. And people are going to Heston, McPherson, Newton, other places to work. And you see Barkman Honey is bringing convicts in from the reformatories and from the different places to cut down on wages. So how do you fight that?
Well, I know you can't pay daycare on a $7 or $8 an hour
No.
job.
No, you can't.
The downside of that is if they go with this, depending on all this stuff that's in turmoil right now, they come up with this $15 an hour minimum wage, that's gonna blow up just as bad
Oh,
as
yeah.
what you, cause then you're gonna have no business. Because mom and pop's not gonna be able to spend $15 for an employee, so they'll just close up.
Mhm.
And then we're gonna be in real trouble in Marion
Right.
County if that happens. Because there's a reason why $8, $10 an hour jobs is all that are available here right now, is because that's what they're having to do to make their budgets balance.
Right.
So that's something to keep in mind too, that could sneak up and us not have a choice of it,
Mhm.
blows up in our face.
Part of it's a desire to work too. I mean,
Yeah.
if you know you're gonna have to vie for a $15 job, $15 an hour job, you're gonna work a little harder at what you do and be a little more productive. So you may make up for 1.5 people that aren't working as hard as they should be.
I think part of what's killing us right now is you can almost make more money not working. You know, and it comes down to a generational thing. You know, like guys in my generation, we'd rather be working. You know, it's just the way it is because it was the way we were taught, and the way we was raised, and you know, just not such a big deal with some of the younger guys. They're doing the math.
Since you like working, take on another job, so the rest of us don't have to, right?
I'm trying, man. I've retired twice and still working.
Well, I think I mean, if nobody has anything big, we will call this reviewed and probably look to maybe some edits for next year.
Sounds good.
I think with that, are there any off-agenda items?
I don't have anything off agenda. We would typically be talking about some kind of an annual dinner in January at this point. I might have to think about that and maybe just see what January brings.
I mean, there's been times we haven't had meetings. I mean, we haven't had our January meeting until April, so I mean,
Yeah,
depending
things
on
with
how
COVID.
with things with COVID, I guess we can address that then. Anybody else have anything?
Oh, mileage vouchers, I'll be sending those out probably by email tomorrow. Those of you that came on to the board this year, the county reimbursed your mileage from your home to wherever we're meeting at, round trip, at the government rate, so,
That is your pay, your
that,
mileage.
yeah, it's not a
That's
paid
cool, I didn't even know we
position,
got
but-
that.
Yeah, I mean, and
Wow.
it, you know, we haven't had very many meetings this year, and
Can
some
you
of
elect not to fill that out?
What's that?
If you don't wanna fill it out, you don't have to fill it out, correct?
You do not have to submit it if you don't want to, that's correct. That's up to each person.
Does it give Chase an option to, get reimbursed for that high dollar internet that he has?
You know, I wish we could do that. You guys missed out on the mileage and the oatmeal cream pies. I mean,
Darn it.
I might have to mail some gift packages out.
$13.90, 280 at
I can't
Peabody.
even see it.
The only thing on that comprehensive plan,
Yeah,
I've noticed, I've got it here, but I'm not got a lot of things that's in his, so.
you're missing some things.
Yeah, like the maps and, I mean, I got some.
Do you have a
of
color copy or do you have a
them. I got
black
black
and
and
white?
white.
Maybe, maybe.
He's got fold out.
I mean, he's got
fold out.
he was trying to refer to
Yeah.
his fold out map, and I'm looking.
Yeah, I'm going, I
and
don't
my
have any
fold-out
fold
map
out map.
Maybe,
Is a blank page.
You get that on your third term.
Third term?
I'm guessing probably what William
That's my
has,
fold out
and I
map.
think what I have is probably the copy from when we approved it. I don't know, did it,
You know, I'm not sure what happened. I know we had made some more,
Show me this one, that one.
we had made some more copies, and I'm not sure that they,
but didn't print out?
yeah, that they just didn't print out on
I think it's the
color.
same thing, that's one thing.
So, I sent an email
Oh,
earlier in the
bigger than
meeting,
mine.
if you're one of
No, it is,
those
but it's
that received a black
I
and
know.
white copy, let me know, and we'll get
Okay,
a color
'cause
copy to
the-
you.
well, like, this ain't a color issue, this is like
No
that
map
map. He's got a fold out map, and this is my fold out map.
I don't want mileage, but I like to have that map.
Okay,
So like the land use map, that's my land use map.
nice. Not much use to that, is
So,
there?
yeah,
There's no use on that land.
so,
Well, if you gotta, you're gonna shoot an email, or do you want them to email you?
I sent an email just asking that anyone that got a black and white copy to let me know so we can
Okay.
get a color copy for you.
Okay.
Russ did a great job of making color copies for all of us when this was all approved. And then since then, we have made some additional copies for new members and things, and I bet they just didn't print out right. So, there is a compressed file. I sent an electronic file to each of you that has the comprehensive plan on it, but we'll get a paper copy to you, so you have it.
yeah, cause I was
And
going over.
regulations, yeah.
Yeah.
Handbook.
Hannibal.
Did you have something else?
I think that's all for now. Yep.
Okay. If nobody else has anything, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Moved by Larry. Dwight seconded it. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Good holiday.
You too, have a nice Christmas and New Year.
No, but you had a great point on when you
This
were talking about
conference
the
is no longer
statistics,
being
what
recorded.
Maybe make those comments, so just so you know, like, what,
Mine is a color, but I didn't. Of course, I haven't. See, I think I grabbed the wrong one. Mine says draft, final draft, which I don't think anything changed. But it didn't have.
I can get Larry a copy for $20.
I think that's about what my mileage is, that'll work.
I'm under, I'm under, here, and right now that's actually.
Guys have a great Christmas.
You too, Russ, thanks.
Thank
There's not a
you.
heavy high power.
There isn't.
Enjoy your basement.